again. Again. Once again.
Missing someone. Missing someone. Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. How much you miss it. And you deserve. And you deserve. And you deserve. And you did it right from the start. And you did it right from the start. Missing someone is as normal. Missing someone and missing someone is as normal. Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart. Missing someone. I am sad and so lonely. I am sad and so lonely. There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. There goes a sight from my soul. I think I saw angels just walk by. 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 There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my there goes a sight. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. If I could take you up in boom, 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 tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Life could be a dream. And I ding dong, plans would come true. And I ding dong, my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again, shaboom, and hoping we meet again. Oh, life, and I ding dong, a lang, a lang, a lang. Boom, ba-do, 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 ba-do. And I ding dong, a lang, a lang, a lang. Boom, ba-do, 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 ba-do. Oh, life, and I ding dong. If I could take you up in boom, 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 tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again, shaboom, and hoping we'll meet again. Oh, life could be a dream, shaboom, and I ding dong, plans would come true. And I ding dong, my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Now every time I look at you, something is on my mind. If you do what I want you to, baby, we'd be so fine. Oh, life, and I ding dong. If I could take you up in boom, 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 tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Life could be a dream. And I ding dong, plans would come true. And I ding dong, my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again, shaboom, and hoping we'll meet again. Oh, life could be a dream. And I ding dong, plans would come true. And I ding dong, my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Upsurge Esports. We're taking a dive into the UML as we head into week number 3 of this season. Galaxy Gaming versus US Army Esports. I'm your cast of the day, Eric Deseret-Cotran, followed by my co-caster. His name is Switch. Forgot to get the full name. I am sorry for that, Switch.
No, that's fine. It doesn't even matter because we're on the internet, you know? So, hey, I could be a female for all you know. I'm not, though. Jordan Estrada here, and yeah, that's right. So yeah, Galaxy versus the U.S. Army. Not actually sponsored by the U.S. Army, but still a very prestigious team. And both teams coming off of 2-0 victories. I believe it was Galaxy Gaming still with 1 loss in a series, but overall they're both 4 wins, right? And coming into this, I guess now we're going to see where exactly the top of this current bracket shapes up in terms of the 2 top teams. One of them has to go down to 2nd place.
Yeah, in this group, there can only be one winner who will keep that undefeated streak. These are the last 2 undefeated teams. So it is a little bit of bragging rights on the table, but still it is a fight to get into playoffs, and nothing feels better than being the king of your standings. As we do get into the live draft. Pro draft was done earlier, so the order is not as it was done in the draft, but we are going to have a moment to actually look at these teams and dissect how they work.
Yeah, at the very least, with this order, we can go ahead and go top down, sort of dissect the lanes as a whole. That Aatrox pick, I actually love Aatrox at the moment. I think he's in a beautiful spot. I think it allows a lot of skill expression. You weaving in those auto attacks with your combos actually gives you a huge amount of healing. And if you put even more healing into your composition, if you buy a Spirit Visage, it actually becomes like super nutty. But either way, he's a super strong pick. Against Renekton, though, I think they'll go, for the most part, I think Aatrox will be going down a little bit early. You know, Renekton is just like the king of lane early game. But eventually, the Aatrox is going to outscale, right? Because late game Renekton is basically just a stun bot. You're just going to run at people and hopefully allow your team to take him down and try and soak up as much damage as possible.
Yeah, other than being just a stun bot, though, he is an excellent duelist when it comes to the late game. It's just Aatrox has the World Ender, which gives him so much regen, which is going to make those duels pretty hard for Fushimura. You do have to give him some credit, though. It is his Renekton. He does play a pretty beastly Renekton on top of that. I've seen it against Chosen when I casted them last time. Getting into more of this draft as it goes on, we do have the Hecarim pick. It was a late Hecarim pick. This stayed open for quite some time, and as we saw on the side of US Army Esports, they were happy just going with the Olaf.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of jungle picks, or a lot of jungle bans rather, actually flying out early in this pick and ban. But it was the Hecarim versus Olaf, and they both sort of scream out to me as like A-tier jungle picks, not necessarily high pressure early game, but they really ramp up once they get to that mid game. Of course, Olaf going to be negating all of those CCs, while Hecarim hopefully going to be deleting a backliner, and you have some really juicy targets available to you. The Jhin and the Lux obviously scream out as, hey, I kind of want to pop that person right there. But yeah, I guess that does segue us into the mid lane with the Zilean pick. That's how you protect your backline for the most part. I will say though, little caveat, that he's not going to get the Hecarim off of your AD carry. Like if anything, it's probably just going to be waiting for the Resurrect or moving on to something else. But at least you won't lose a Jhin or a Lux flat out.
I mean, that's what the Zilean is meant there for. It is a support in the mid lane. You're just looking to utilize its utility as well as some of the base damage that you get from landing a double bomb. But that's the big thing. You just mentioned it. Saving that revive, because Primordial Burst from D-Roll is going to do a lot of damage when we get to that 20-minute point, and you can thwart a lot of Vygar's damage by just getting one revive, stopping that one-hit combo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm scared for the Lux right now. I think that's what Veigar is going to be preying on this game. But heading down to that bot lane, of course, Fluid and Skeggy on a very strong duo lane, I would say. I think Nautilus is one of the best kill lane supports that you can pick in this patch. It was first picked for Galaxy, so great pick overall. You get the Caitlyn as well to facilitate that high pressure lane. Go ahead and throw those auto attacks in with every, CS that you pick up, and eventually you're going to start to wear down the Jhin Lux, who don't necessarily have any innate sustain. However, they do bring some poke of their own, right? Jhin with the dancing grenades. If you face a really good Jhin player that knows how to utilize the dancing grenades properly, I think it's really hard to deal with. As well as Lux, you mentioned it before we started the cast, but she's becoming so popular in the mid game, mid lane, but not only the mid lane, but also the support lane. I believe in the support she used to play Aftershock, but now that Aftershock got nerfed, just back on that Arcane Comet.
Yeah, and that pretty much just sums it up both ways in the draft. You do have the burst of damage on the side of US Army Esports with that Jhin and Lux combo. Meanwhile, you have the chain of CC and the slow sustained damage that eventually can add up to a kill when the Nautilus locks you down. So it's only a matter of time to see who is going to prevail given the team comps drafted. We're going to throw it over to short break. When we return, we'll get into more of the UML week number 3 matchup of Galaxy Gaming versus US Army Esports. Stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Upsurge Minor Leagues Week number 3, Galaxy Gaming versus the U.S. Army Esports. And right out from the get-go, the U.S. Army are going for a bit of a 5-man invade. They're looking to set their sights on the Fluid.
That's right, and Fluid, he's got to get out quick.
He was able to notice it, but watch that light binding. It goes out, able to be flashed away. Fluid taking a lot of damage in the process, though. Bomb's going to land on him. The flash is not going to be enough. Fluid goes down. First blood to Wairito.
What a bizarre blunder. Actually, just looked like Fluid just did not respect at all the invade coming out. And there was a lot of chain CC to work with. You have the undertows as well as that snare from both Jin and Lux. So a nice kill going over to Wairito, of all people, on the Zillion. And that is going to help out a little bit in the laning phase. That is one of the lanes I have to worry about here. Veigar versus Zillion does not sound fun for the Zillion. I mean, post 6, you do have the Resurrect, but in the end, the Veigar cage really makes it hard. And that's what is warranting this cleanse from Wairito.
He's definitely going to need it. Getting caught up in that cage, not being able to use the Chrono Shift could mean the end of him and could completely ruin the point of taking this Zillion. Jungler's going to start, but there's going to be an invade start coming out of Garo, who's starting on the top side, red side jungle. Going to take that red buff away and do some vertical jungling.
Yeah, and I actually love the sense of this. No one would expect that when you lose like the level 1 trade that you go ahead and just invade anyway. Like, that's such a counterintuitive thing that it works out in the end. Nice hook though.
Yeah, hook goes in, but so does the light binding. It lands on the Fluid. Fluid taking a bit more damage. He hasn't been liking life as of lately. Since giving that first blood, he's already going down to early harassment. We're only 2 minutes in.
Yeah, he's got to watch out too. Another snare, and that's going to be more damage.
Ooh, double snare on top of that. Yeah, there is no flash. The hook comes out. It will keep him alive. It will keep him okay, but the heal was forced out of Fluid. Galaxy's bot lane is not having fun.
And this completely changes the context of this bot lane. I was expecting the Nautilus and Caitlyn to have a ball in this lane, but no flash. That forces out the flash from the Nautilus as well. So a double summoner deficit, and that's even going to make you vulnerable if you're trying to push out, and then a jungler might gank you like Valencia. Speaking of Valencia.
Showing up towards this top side. Bushmore has to be careful about the way he plays. He does have a lot of mobility.
Yeah, level 2.
Yeah, he did take the slice and dice, so not too worried in terms of mobility. Gonna get a little bit of damage in him, back off with the dice. Able to get the double proc. Valencia will back off instead. Scuttle Crabs are spawning in the next 10 seconds, so he's got to have his eyes on that.
Guess you could say gank attempt, but no dice.
No dice indeed, my friend.
I didn't commit to the delivery fully, but either way. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the skull given over to Valencia, and here's a trade coming out for Bushmore.
Yeah, and that's the level 3 power of Renekton. Once he's able to pick up that third and final skill, he just becomes instantly stronger by default. Those skills really start to ramp up, especially when you have that Fury bar and you're able to get the 3 auto attack from the stun. But still, Porkchop's responding well. He's getting in the proper harassment, and it's still adding up from the very start of the game.
I gotta say, it's not every day I see a Renekton bullied out in lane, so very much props to Porkchop over here. But I mean, Aatrox, such a great pick at the moment. I believe this was first picked for the side of US Army Esports after giving over that Nautilus first pick to Galaxy, but it's paying off dividends.
Now Recall's coming out, able to burn his teleport towards the top lane. Foshamort will show back up. Porkchop instead is going to start walking back. So this is going to be a teleport advantage over to US Army Esports. Let's see if they actually utilize it or if they rather just use it for a later recall scenario.
And now we have to pay attention to the pathing. Valencia now going down to this bot lane. No flashes available for them, so...
Ooh. No flash, no heal. Fluid's going to have a hard time here. The binding goes out, and the target is going to be Skaggy, but able to join the fight is Garo. Garo swinging that onslaught all over the place, trying to get damage into It's Me, That's OP, but cannot find the kill just yet. Going neutral in this bot lane battle.
Yeah, and that's a pivotal counter gank coming in from Garo. Shows up, bursts down Valencia, actually forces out his flash as well, so that's going to mean a bit more safety for the bot lane of Galaxy here, and maybe they might get a little bit more breathing room once Skeggy comes back, of course. At the moment, it's not fun for Fluid.
Yeah, he definitely needs some backup. He needs some help. He needs that flash timer to finally be off cooldown. Teleport going to be burnt in the mid by D-Roll. Wairito still in the mid lane, has his tier, stacking it up, throwing as many bombs as he can. It's going to be quite frustrating for D-Roll to deal with that, because that tier is just a level of harassment that keeps growing and growing the more he's able to get more mana on it.
Yeah, quite brutal. And it looks like D-Roll, in this case, going for the Lost Chapter, I believe, might be going into Ludens. But either way, opting for the damage rather than the tier. And I think that might just pay off once you get to those smaller skirmishes in this early game here.
With Electrocute too.
Yeah, that's right. The Electrocute too. Not going for the Glacial Augment. We were talking about it before. And you actually like this approach. Just straight up going for the damage. Hopefully going to have a much better presence. And I mean, I mentioned it a little bit before, but you have a great target.
Ooh, the binding goes out. Skeggy takes a bit of damage. Able to throw out the dredge line, finds the hook onto Duris, but Duris able to return fire and get Skeggy even lower. Fluid still staying safe, but you got to watch out for the roots. He will get rooted, but gets the net in time, and it's just harassment back and forth with this bot lane. They're constantly fighting. They're trying to find the straw that breaks the camel's back.
That's right, but both going blow for blow, and actually I think this might end up being better for Galaxy. They're a bit more under their tower, and their flash time is finally coming up.
Ooh, Fushimore pretty low on this top side. He does have Dominus available, so he has that as a backup if he needs a burst of HP, but the focus is still on the bot lane. Even Valencia seeing that as he heads towards the bot side to set up a gank again.
Yeah, unfortunately, gonna land on a Pink Warden. Apply a little bit more pressure, but it's not going to be a gank. You can see Garo actually hovering again, waiting for another pivotal counter gank, but it's going to be the end of that.
And really, with this amount of map control going towards the bot side and shoving in, it's actually kind of surprised that Valencia doesn't make a dragon play, but gotta hold that thought fight, breaking out in the top side. Fushimort forced to burn the flash to be able to stay alive. The World Ender was used, so there is going to be a slight window of opportunity for Fushimort to find his comeback.
And I'm actually really starting to think, what is the power spike for Renekton here? Because to my knowledge, like, Aatrox just gets better and better.
Well, he has to at least get one item before he's able to take this fight, falling just above 100 HP. And when he fights, it's harass and back off, because sustained fights with Aatrox is where you really start to lose out, especially if he has the World Ender proc and is able to get that regen.
Yeah, this lane is just going to get worse and worse. Honestly, he's been winning these trades because he's been like half an item up at this point.
Ooh,
okay,
here we go. Goes out, but here comes the onslaught of shadows. Garo trying to get some damage. Valencia going to be on the counter gank, but that's going to come to an end. Under the tower is the bot lane, the squad of Galaxy. So going even, but mostly that priority going over to the US Army Esports.
Yeah, again, more counter ganks, and both junglers here now trying to chip away at this bot tower here. Hopefully we can get one more play. Some good damage down.
Gotta watch that light binding. It's me, that's OP. Is starting to get low on mana though. So let's see what Galaxy can do while they're stuck under this tower. The pressure continues, clearing out another wave efficiently. The undertow still being thrown in. Fluid starting to get too low, and there goes the root. Light binding goes out. Curtain call is only hitting Skeggy. The undertow goes through as well, able to flash away from the fourth bullet, but here comes the Ragnarok, able to slaughter Skeggy. Fluid is looking to be next, but Fluid is fighting tooth and nail to stay alive. Now it's Valencia who's too low. The flash goes out. Valencia able to get into the jungle, but into the wandering arms of D-Roll he goes.
And that's just going to be D-Roll picking up a very easy rotation kill, but it was honestly smart play coming out from the side of US Army Esports. I mean, they see that the jungler did make a recall. They go ahead and go for the curtain call. That puts a huge amount of damage. Plus both summoners again from Fluid and Skeggy, and a nice cage. But either way, you can feel the pressure coming out into this bot lane, looking like they're about to take their third play of the game in the bot lane.
And it's so hard for them to set up a play. US Army Esports are constantly pushing forward, while Galaxy, they can't even set up a teleport play. There's no ward in the river bush. There's no ward in the lane bush. There's no way for Fushimort to get down there and start helping out the cause.
That's going to be a nice trade. Here comes Garo.
Now Garo going to find the knockback onto Porkchop. Porkchop going to burn the World Ender. He's getting a lot of damage and a lot of regen in the process. Looking to find the stun is Fushimort, but the flash comes out of Porkchop under his tower. Backup is here. Valencia gonna join the fight, looking to land those undertows. Instead, minions, they look more appealing.
Yeah, and I absolutely do think that that flash was warranted. That was going to be the stun coming out from Renekton, but one quick flash out, and finally, he might get a little peace and quiet here, but Here comes an invade actually coming in. Y Rito as well as Valencia. Garo is quite low.
Now they're invading onto Garo. Garo looking to back off. Valencia and Y Rito are not a duo you want to take a fight with. They're going to have to surrender their blue buff. Trying to come in as D-roll, but he's coming in far too late. Just places a ward to watch Valencia skedaddle on out.
Yeah, that's actually a trade of blue buffs. You can see D-roll already with one blue buff taken away from US Army Esports. So that's going to warrant them taking one back, and we're just about even Stevens on the blue buff trade here.
And getting back into the bot lane as we look at a different start to build. 9 CS, now going towards the 10 CS for Duris. Able to get just a small advantage, but the real advantages have just been coming from the plates. Able to cash in 160 per plate, a 300, 400 gold lead, almost 500 in mid lane. Rito uses the chrono shift only to take it out, but here comes the laser, flashing forward, finds the shot. Duris gonna continue to grow that gold lead.
This bot lane is actually tilting me. Like, Jin Lutz actually just looks busted at this point. I mean, when they are allowed pressure in lane to just sit in brushes unchecked, to just walk up at you and throw these random skill shots, it becomes so difficult. And that's the problem when you lose momentum against this lane. When you're not comfortable engaging with your Nautilus, you're just at their mercy. You're playing their game of playing that neutral, not going for anything, and eventually a skill shot's going to hit you if they keep fishing for it.
And this all started at level 1 with the invade. That flash being down was the chain of events that led to Fluid's downfall so far in this early game. But here comes the hook. Dredgeline will land onto Duris. Duris trying to fire back, but swinging that anchor left and right. Out comes the depth charge. He's not done with Duris. Ace in the hole. That amount of damage from Skeggy was absolutely bonkers, my friend. But in the top lane, Dominus is going to be used. Pork chop under the tower. One more tower shot, and Pushamore is able to take down Pork chop. Over the wall comes Garo. Looks to find the still, but the Dragon Infernal will go into the pocket of Valencia. Now Skeggy chasing down. It's me, that's OP. Undertow over the wall to get the slow as well as the speed up coming from Y Rito. Overall, a crazy exchange going left and right. A good influx of kills for Galaxy, but they were not able to get the Infernal.
Yeah, finally, Fushmort taking over this top lane now, getting some plates as well. That's going to help slingshot him back into this game. But, I mean, a crucial secure on the other side of the map from Valencia. He takes the Infernal Drake for his team. That's going to not deny any fight as well. Coming out. Nice snare. And oh, no.
Another... Oh, let's not talk about that net because it's definitely going to be clipped on Twitch.
Yeah. I'm going to patent that one, the 90 elo net right there.
The 90 elo net. Yeah, and even the net wouldn't have saved him in that scenario. Flash was down.
Yeah,
all you really had was heal, and there was a chain of roots waiting to come your way.
And that is going to be the bot lane tower going down before even plates go down. Look at all that cash. 330 apiece for both of the bot laners that are putting on a fantastic performance here, and it's only going to get better for them as they enter this mid game. I mean, when you're facing against a poke composition, the last thing you want is for them to get ahead because you can no longer engage on them. They get to dictate the pace of the game, so of course it's going to play towards their strengths, towards this siege poke style of gameplay once we start to get to this mid game.
But Switch, we are in a situation in this game where it's not just US Army Esports. In the bot lane, it's completely US Army Esports dominating. But in the top side, Fushimort has taken so many plates that he's accumulated a lead about 700 gold above his counterpart. So there are imbalances, but it's getting matched from lane to lane.
That's right, and I guess that would warrant us to want to see plays coming out of Fushmore coming in soon. There's a cage, put pork chop in the pickle.
Baby Cage comes out, getting pulled in by the chains. Double bomb damage for days. Fushimore gonna fight it out, use the blast plant to create some distance. Valencia will not be able to slay the Croc, but Rift Herald will reset.
And again, the poke coming out works for the side of US Army Esports. They find the double bomb, like you said. That's gonna warrant a whole lot more poke coming out from the bot lane. And of course, this Rift Herald as well gonna be secured for themselves and allow them to propel their lead even further. At this point, just about 2k, but you gotta think it's gonna be grown quite soon.
Shelly getting picked up by the side of US Army Esports, and it looks like they want to use it in the top lane. The pings are going out. You got to start bringing backup for Fluid. He's all by his lonesome up there as Duris and Valencia begin the siege.
And it's so tough for Fluid. I have not seen him be able to
no.
play this game so far, and every CC is dangerous at this point when you deal with the range here. Nice snare.
Oh, Fushamort, half his health gone just like that. The turret about to take a huge chunk. Shelly charges in, bringing that to critically low levels. Garo trying to take down Shelly. Skeggy coming from the flank. Finds the depth charge, and here comes the engage out of Galaxy. They're finding the picks they've needed. Onslaught of Shadows going for the back line, and they're able to get 3 for absolutely nothing and begin a siege of their own in the top side.
And Galaxy come out with a huge play here, actually off the back of Skeggy's hook. He puts that into the depth charge, and the great follow-up coming from Fushmort. We were wondering, what's this guy going to do with the lead? He's going to snowball a team fight, turns out. 3-0 for the side of Galaxy, as well as that top tower.
But the split push is going on in the bot side. He's not going to be able to get towards that inner bot tower and get some real damage on that. Instead, just crashing the minion wave and looking to steal as many resources as possible will be the actions of Pork Chop. Scuttle Crab spawning soon on that bot side. Still waiting for the next Drake, which will spawn in exactly 1 minute. And it will be a Cloud Drake. And surprisingly, that Infernal stayed up for a long time. So it's 16 minutes, and the second Drake is about to respawn.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I gotta say, though, now I'm a bit concerned as who's going to have priority of this Drake at the moment, because we just saw if Galaxy do find a good engage, they can absolutely snowball it. You're going to have Flash coming up on the side of Fushmore as well, so that's going to facilitate engage. Nice double bomb, as well as a bit of a slow coming out. That's going to be Garo half HP at this point, and Dragon still for another 20 seconds, so he's going to have to do a quick recall, just hoping to not give up that Dragon over to US Army Esports.
Don't want to forfeit any more resources and allow that win condition of Elder to come up. But there comes a snare. It's me, that's OP. Looking to follow up with the double bomb. It goes through. Depth charge going to go out as well. Why Rito gets hit by the Primordial Burst? No, it's waiting, and it's used on the Chrono shift. But here comes Valencia looking to turn this fight around. D-roll trying to make his escape, but gets clipped by an undertow. The rest of the squad will show up. Hill is burnt, but here comes the hook. Looking to find Pork Chop. Pork Chop taking a lot of damage. He's to take down Skeggy. The World Ender will now give him a revive. Fushamore on the backline. Double bomb goes out. Finds the stun onto the horse and to the Aatrox. Fushamore now on the run. Pork Chop is starting to run critically low. He wants another kill, so he's going to get it onto D-roll. But Fluid will return the favor. This fight breaks into a 2-for-1 exchange so far in favor of US Army Esports, but they're able to find kill number 3 and take down the mid lane tower. Clipping for more. They want a pair of those gator skin boots. Life binding gonna miss. Down goes Valencia, but they're able to take down Cloppity in the process.
And overall, a 4-for-2, as well as the mid tower over might just be Dragon as well for the side of US Army Esports. And off the back of some great damage coming out. I mean, you saw the hook come out, and Skeggy, he decided to go for the engage there. Didn't pan out for them, and it got turned back around with Valencia popping the Ragnarok, going on to D-roll. And overall, it's just a tough fight for the side of Galaxy. You saw Fushmore in the middle of that team, but it was just him in the end. And credit to Pork Chop, by the way, he popped off. And eventually, we are going to be seeing this Dragon go over to the side of US Army Esports, the second Dragon of the game, as well as just about a 2,000 gold lead for them. They are still slightly in the driver's seat at the moment.
US Army Esports, the fights have been going back and forth, but the big thing about US Army Esports is the zone control they have in these games. The hook goes through, Ace the Hole gonna go through as well, but so will the Chrono shift. He will be able to resurrect, looking for that dredge line. Primal Burst gonna be used, but it's Dio-Roll who has turret aggro, so he will fall to Wairito, and it's gonna be a 2-for-1 deal. Able to get the double is Wairito. The outplay was beautiful.
That is so unfortunate for the side of Galaxy. Just not quite proper turret aggro management, and that's going to be D-roll going down first, as well as Skeggy. Just a bit too overextended, and Skeggy, he's on one hand, he has been coming up with some great engages. On the other hand, sometimes his team is just not ready for it. Sometimes it's just not the best call, and it's going to be more damage onto this mid tier 2 for the side of US Army Esports. They've just been on top of towers this entire game. You look to the top side as well as Pork Chop knocking away at that tier 2, and but they're both going to go down actually, so that's a pretty big gold swing, almost 4,000.
Oh, it's massive, and it's hard for Galaxy to deal with because of that zone control I was talking before that team fight broke out. Their skills, the bombs, the undertows, the light bindings, everything comes together to make this map so dangerous to get even close to US Army Esports. So Galaxy Gaming, they need to find just an outright ideal team fight, but it's so hard when you have to dodge all this stuff.
It really is. It's just hard for Skeggy to start approaching these fights and looking for the proper hooks. And you have a good front line as well. Porkchop and Valencia are hopefully going to be soaking up those skill shots. You could pop the Ragnarok if you need to, and he looks like he's going to do it right there. I mean, not too much to be lost right there. And Porkchop has been playing pretty well these team fights, I have to say. Just absorbing as much pressure as possible so that the backline are free to go ahead and free hit, try and throw out as many skill shots as possible and see what lands. And overall, US Army Esports have been playing to their composition. Just saw the 2 towers being sieged at once, and that's what you want to do with this poke composition. You have great disengage as well. So overall, I think the side of Galaxy really need to come out with some good answers to claw their way back into this game. 4,000 gold lead for the side of US Army Esports at the moment.
And you know what? It's not just a poke comp, it's a pick comp at the same time.
Yeah.
You're gonna see them start to pick up all this vision around the Baron area as we begin that Baron dance. But that is when US Army Esports' comp is most dangerous. When you want to contest the Baron, when you want to get vision over there, because you don't know when a light binding will come straight over the wall. On top of that, Deadly Flourish can chain it into a bind after bind, double bomb. Good luck.
Yeah, even curtain calls. I mean, back when Jin was meta, that's actually what facilitated engages. You would just start a curtain call from the neutral game and end up finding picks just off of the slow that curtain call consistently gives you, and it's going to make it super hard to approach. I do not want to be Skeggy in this type of game. I mean, on Nautilus, your only escape is really the anchor of all things, so if you're not quite aligned with a good wall to hook onto, it's really curtains for you at that point.
The thing is, Galaxy do have a fighting chance if they can get past all that zone control, because their damage is really massive. There are some big heavy hitters there, the Vigar and Caitlyn included. Never mind the split pushing beast that is Foshamore trying to deal with Porkchop.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw the one team fight that Foshamore got inside of the side of US Army Esports. It was just devastating. And as long as he's not soaking up the pressure alone, I think he can really get a lot of work done. Jesus, Porkchop just going at him at this point.
But it's so hard to fight an Aatrox on your terms because all they need to do is pop the World Ender. If you can get the World Ender to pop and back off like this, Foshamort should not fight whatsoever. And now he has a fighting chance to actually take this over to Porkchop. But meanwhile, in the mid lane, there are fights going all over the place. Here comes the Ragnarok going straight for the backline of Fluid. Fluid is taking a lot of punishment. Bogaro is there to provide some backup. Skeggy will go down. Porkchop versus Forshamore. Out comes the curtain call. It's going for Valencia. The ace in the hole goes through. Garo, the pony is slain. Valencia and Porkchop, 2-man beefy boys running through this jungle. Best friends forever. They just want to take down what they see fit. But Valencia goes down, and this means the rest of the squad of Galaxy Gaming are in deep trouble because they just pissed off the rest of the crew of US Army Esports.
Yeah, and you mentioned it before, Desorux, a scattered team fight, but overall the pick, the chain CC coming out for the side of US Army Esports, that allows them to lock up 2 members, snowball that into a good team fight for themselves, and again, they're just able to maintain this map pressure. And look at them now, like knocking onto this inhibitor tower. Here comes Skeggy.
Ooh, almost able to find the hook onto It's Me That's OP. The zone control coming from those bombs, coming from the Deadly Flourish. The fancy feat has to come out of Skeggy to just not be CC'd. Dragon is up, and it does look like US Army Esports will set their sights on it.
Yeah, he's walking on a minefield. Like, it's just not fun. You're walking on eggshells at that point, just trying to dodge as much as you can. You're Nautilus, like your character model is actually quite big, and you're gonna be soaking up those skill shots if you don't dodge them.
So now Baron still on the table, neither team able to take it. 24 minutes on the clock. It does look like Cloud Drake will be started by US Army Esports, able to get more of that movement speed as they rotate from objective to objective. This is a stage of the game where Cloud Drake actually starts to shine.
Absolutely, and another Cloud Drake going over for the side of US Army Esports. It's going to allow them to disengage, but also engage these team fights. We saw that scattered fight up with Zillion, placing the bombs and placing the slows, and that gives Valencia rather an opening to just barrel onto Fluid on that Caitlyn. It's spooky stuff, I gotta say. I do not want to be playing Caitlyn right now.
This Army Esports still holding control of this blue side jungle of Galaxy. You can see all the vision that's been pressed towards every opening of the jungle. You're just waiting for that light binding to go through, and there it is, but it's onto a tanky target, so Foshamore will be able to walk out, trying to place whatever wards they can. That control ward, not long for this world, and that's the story with every bit of vision that Galaxy try to put forward. Those control wards just keep denying it, but this reaction coming through, it's me, that's OP, takes a lot of damage from D-roll, but still no engage goes through. Galaxy cannot find the pick, and now it's Baron time for US Army Esports. This is a gutsy call. Watch that baby cage to be huge in this next fight.
Here's the
Coming out.
Whoa,
Gets a lot of damage on the Rito.
Oh,
there
no.
comes the hook. And there comes the depth charge. Knock up Ragnarok. 1-for-1 exchange just far. Agaro looking to make it towards the backline. Onslaught of Shadow's going to be used, but Valencia starting to run low himself. He sees Fluid, though. He wants to take him down. Foshamort has to move fast to save his ADC. He will go down to Durst. Steel roll. Fall into Porkchop. Over the wall comes Porkchop. Looking to take down Foshamort in the process, but Foshamort is not done. He wants to take someone with him, and that's exactly what he's going to do. He goes down, but it's going to be an ace. US Army Esports with 2 still alive, able to win the team fight.
Oh, strong attempt coming out of Fushamore, but overall, it's just going to go in favor of US Army Esports. They dictated that entire engage, started the Baron, forced in members. You can see, like, Garo just melted instantly once he finished his Onslaught of Shadows coming in, and that's going to mean inhibitor going in the favor of US Army Esports, and that's going to make this Baron attempt even easier next time around.
Gara, I don't think you want to go for that one. You always got to remember the healing that an Olaf has, and the passive of Olaf. The lower his health gets, the faster he can attack. Combine that with the W, and that's a lot of healing. It's why he's so good at early game duels, but it can also come up big in the late game as well.
And I really want to take a good dive into what exactly is the optimal engage for the side of Galaxy, because I mean, they're not finding it at this moment. And I think if they just group a little bit better, if they just play it slowly, if they allow the side of US Army Esports to get chipped out by this Baron, I think they can finally find a good engage. They have strong engage with the Nautilus, and you get that Onslaught Shell as well. Everything just so that Fluid can find free time to auto attack, because I think this entire game, he just has not been finding any free time to put down the damage. Here we go, another Baron attempt. US Army Esports, they want this Baron, and is the approach going to come out from Galaxy?
I don't think so. They have no teleport on Fushamore, so he's going to stay in that bot lane. If they're just going to go through with this, don't even go near the Baron. Just try and get Fushamore to get some damage onto that bot lane, but it's completely conceded from Galaxy.
And I can't tell if it's them really behind on tempo or them just wanting to cut their losses here, say, okay, Baron, you know what, it's yours. We died at it, so we really don't want to contest it. Let's just try and fight these sieges that you're going to come at us with. But I don't see that working out quite well. I mean, when you look at the top or the bot lane towers, like, that's really tough because of the fact that you're funneling to one side or the other, right? And that's just going to make it much easier to land these skill shots. It's like shooting fish in a barrel for the side of US Army Esports, and we'll see if Galaxy can come out with a strong engage and manage to get Fushamore into that backline.
And given how strong Porkchop is, this is going to be a 4-1 split push. So Porkchop is going to be wreaking havoc on that bot side. They need to concede that inner bot tower and just look to defend their base alone, because if you get caught defending that inner bot tower, that could be the end right there. You want the safety of your base.
Yeah, absolutely. And already with a Guardian Angel as well, that's just going to give him the freedom to go ahead, pop that World Ender, and just try and find those takedowns. Even if you don't find it, you have a Resurrect at your disposal. So it's going to be the first bot tower as well as the Curtain Call.
Oh. The Curtain Call used in the top lane, trying to zone off the members of Galaxy from this inhibitor tower, but here comes the hook, able to find one hook. Onslaught of Shadows going for the back line, able to get a lot of damage in. Rito finds the Chrono Shift in time. Light Binding gonna land onto Fluid. Fluid's taking a lot of punishment. Out comes the hook one more time, but Riot's able to run away. Valencia going straight for the ADC, but it's gonna be D-Roll taking him down, but D-Roll is one of the sole survivors next to Fushamort. Fushamort has to dodge a lot, and he's able to do it to take down Rito, but Fushamort is defending so much, and so is D-Roll. There's going to be a lot of pressure. Porkchop does a lot of damage, has 2 revives at his disposal if he's able to get a takedown. But it does look like the crew of US Army Esports are happy backing off. They have 2 inhibitors. They rather just grab another Drake, reset, and come to finish the job later.
And let's talk about that team fight, because that was actually a great counter engage coming out for the side of Galaxy. You can see they brought Fushmore into that top lane, no TP or anything like that, so they sacrificed the bot tower. But in the end, you do get an even trade, and taking down some of those shutdowns is what is going to help you propel yourself back into that game. You had a lot going for you there in that team fight. I mean, Fluid put down a huge amount of damage, as well as Fushmore, you saw in that back end of that fight, putting down some good damage as well. And it's just really tough to deal with because of the fact that you have the Zillion on the enemy team. So finally, when the Chrono Shift was down, you saw Fushmore go in, but you don't know if he's always going to get that attempt at his disposal.
I mean, Baron buff is running out right now, so there is a little bit of relief on the side of Galaxy, but with that last Drake going down, it means we're 4 minutes and 30 seconds away from the Elder Drake, and considering it's 4 Drakes on the side of US Army Esports, Baron is no longer the only win condition. Now you have the Elder Drake as a neutral objective win condition.
I mean, control team fights is the name of the game for the side of Galaxy at this moment. As long as they can manage to make sure no one can run on top of Fluid, I think he's starting to really dish out a good amount of damage. You can see 3 critical items already taken. That's the last inhibitor, the last defense coming out from Galaxy. Here's the approach coming out from US Army Esports. Look.
Look at a stun in, gets a lot of damage towards Valencia, but Fushimore takes the damage of his own from Porkchop. You can see Skeggy looking desperately trying to find a dredge line onto any target he can, but the squad of US Army Esports, they play so far back, they're utilizing that zone control so much, but there comes the baby cage. Event Horizon gets a stun on. Porkchop has to back off, gonna use the World Ender in the process. Garo's gonna look to find the end game off of this. Onslaught of Shadows is completely ineffective. Now Skeggy on the run along with Fushimore, D-Roll, and Fluid trying to get those autos in, but D-Roll is going under the tower and going down at the hands of Y Rito. There comes the root, there comes the shutdown. Porkchop doesn't care, he throws caution to the wind, sacrificing his life to the obelisk to make sure this Nexus will go down. And with 32 minutes on the clock, almost going to 33 in a very dominating mid-game, US Army Esports are able to find victory in game number 1 as they chase down Fluid into the fountain.
Fantastic game from US Army Esports. Looked to be in the driver's seat the entire game, and off the back of that fantastic early game coming out from their bot lane, right? Durus and It's Me That's OP. Jin and Lux, they took advantage of the summoner deficit from Fluid. They got another summoner off of that Skeggy, and throughout the entire laning phase, just put Fluid and Skeggy on the back foot, transitioned that lead into some good control. That's what netted them that first Infernal. And on the other side, we did see Fushmore put out some great damage in team fights. It's just, it was so hard to really find the right team fights when you're that far behind against the composition coming out from US Army Esports.
I mean, if you want to talk great damage, just look at Porkchop. He was number 1 in damage overall in this fight. 24k, 24.6k. The next highest would have been D-Roll at 24.1k. He was doing as much damage as a Vigar. Just keep that in mind. That is a pretty big deal for a top laner.
Yeah, that's actually nuts. Like, top laners usually don't get the most damage. Then we put it into context. Hey, you have a Jin and a Lux on like your team as well, but you just out damage them, and a lot of trading in that top lane. So that is what a lot of that damage did come from. But overall, even in team fights and skirmishes, he was just putting out as much damage as possible. You can see in that last team fight, just straight flexing on kids, like pop the World Ender early, just like, yeah, we're gonna win this fight. So it still had the Guardian Angel as well. So it was just a dominant performance. And I think you really need to think about this Aatrox pick coming into the next pick and ban.
Yeah, let's see what Galaxy do. If they revamp their draft or if they reset their mentality, it's all to be determined in game number 2. We are going to throw it over to a short break. When we return, we'll get in to that said game of Galaxy Gaming versus US Army Esports. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the UML week number 3, Galaxy Gaming versus US Army Esports. We're getting into the draft of game number 2. It's already been done via Pro Draft, so these picks are in just the order of the lanes, not the order of their actual draft. So we have a lot of interesting things coming out of this draft as well, because it does feel like Galaxy were, well, more reactive to what US Army Esports were doing in ways that I felt was not as productive.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, they had the Renekton going for them, and I think that's going to warrant the pick again. You can see in the first ban, Aatrox off the table for good reason. It was Pork Chop going toe-to-toe with the Renekton in lane. And then once you actually get out of the lane phase, like, he just performs so much better than Renekton. It's so much easier to play Aatrox in skirmishes than it is Renekton, or in 5v5 team fights. Like, just overall, take him off the table. You're going to go back to the Renekton, and that's actually going to be the Rise was flexed into the top lane.
And this is what scares me right here. So the Lux was picked up in the second half of the draft as the very first pick of that second half. And it kind of felt like they were taking it away to take it away from US Army Esports. D-Roll does play it quite a bit, but this leaves such a nasty counter pick. The Pyke in unison with the Jarvan is a nasty lane if you get caught out by it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, is the Sejuani going to be able to protect you? Is she going to give you the presence that you need to get out of that laning phase, to get to that mid game where you're really going to be starting to throw out those skill shots whenever you can? I'm not quite sure. I mean, this isn't necessarily the mid lane where we saw the pop off come out from US Army Esports. It was actually that bot lane, and we do have an interesting bot 2v2 to deal with. We'll touch on it in a moment, but either way, Pyke in laning phase, I think half the reason why he's so frustrating is because he's so hard to kill. He's so hard to tie down. Like, as long as he keeps that stun available and he only uses it for when he really wants to all in, he just has so much safety. He gets out of vision, he heals up like half the damage he took. It's just so tough for a Lux to play against that as well. Someone who's trying to capitalize off of, hey, how much can I chip you out? How much damage can I take advantage of with my rage advantage?
Yeah, and as hard as he is to catch, those same tools that he uses to get away are the same tools he uses to engage as well. So he's not only hard to catch, he's very sticky once he gets on you. And Lux is a very immobile mid laner. And J4 loves to gank. He's a level 2 ganker. He will go the moment he gets his flag and drag. So D-Roll is going to be stuck in a scenario where he does have to play safe by quite a bit. Moving on, I do want to look at this bot lane matchup because we were quite surprised. We were looking for the Nautilus for quite some time. Instead, he goes for the Thresh, Skeggy. On top of that, they're taking the Callista with it switch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a very strong opinion about this bot lane. I think it's insanely hard for Thresh Callista to actually play this. I mean, Ezreal, once he gets his Frostborn Gauntlet, he's going to be applying slows, and that's actually a lot of what makes Callista hard to play. If you're consistently slowed, it just makes it super brutal, as well as you have the concussive blows to work with. As long as you can start to stack that up and get Callista CC'd, like, CC is like Callista's nightmares. Like, that's the only thing that's going to stop her. So I think if she doesn't take cleanse here, and it looks like she's not, she might have to opt for a QSS relatively early. You also have the point and click of the Rise Snare as well to work with once you finally get to those skirmishes. So I'm actually not sure who's really going to carry for the side of Galaxy. We don't know if it's going to be the Lux because, hey, maybe D-Roll is going to be behind in lane. Is it going to be Fluid? I'm not sure. Going up against that team comp, it seems like you have a lot of things flying at you. The Pyke, the Jarvan, the Rise, as well as the Braum, if he's able to apply the stacks or knock you up with that Glacial Fissure, is terrifying.
It's one word I want to take from your sentence, and that is skirmish. US Army Esports have a skirmish composition. They turn on in the mid game pretty heavily, and they keep scaling as well. They just want these just disjointed jungle fights, kind of like what they had in game number 1, and they will find the damage to set up the resets for It's Me, That's OP. So it's all about early tempo for US Army Esports. Meanwhile, on the side of Galaxy, it looks like it's more about comfort, scaling up, and having a good team fight for when you get to the Baron phase.
Right, and you do have a bit of pick potential as well as engage. Have the Lux bindings that we saw come through in that last game 1 from US Army Esports, this time in the hands of Galaxy, as well as the capitalization coming in from the Sejuani, the Thresh, that might just close the distance for the Renekton to get into the middle of the team and wreak havoc. And I mean, Renekton, as long as Aatrox is not a champion that's going to be played, I think Renekton's still quite good. I think we're going to see a lot of domination coming out from this top lane for the side of Fushmore. And Rise, yes, he is a ranged champion, but he doesn't necessarily provide the harass that you want early game. I think he's going to be mostly trying to scale up and have a bigger presence once you get out of lane.
So that's Giraffe number 2 all said and done. We're going to throw it over a short break. When we return, we will get into game number 2, match point. If the squad of US Army take this, they take the entire series. Can Galaxy come back? We'll find out in just a moment. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for the delay, but the game is underway. UML week number 3, Galaxy Gaming versus US Army Esports. Our teams are now hitting the Rift. Taking a look at these comps, the side of US Army Esports, which is on the blue side, we are fixing that right now. We talked about it. It's a very tempo-based game for them. Start off fast, finish quickly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was the story of last game as well. I mean, it was the bot lane coming out ahead with the summoner advantage. They then transitioned that into a lead for themselves. Once they got to the mid game, though, I think that's really where we saw the side of US Army Esports shine. I mean, they seem to know their way around how to play their composition and how to play the mid game. You think about the tower sieges, you think about that engage around the mid lane, as well as the Baron. It all seemed by the book, and it was all really quickly done. The game overall didn't take too long as well, and we might just see another game like this. We were talking about it a little bit earlier, but the pick and ban coming out for the side of US Army Esports was actually pretty nice coming out for them. I mean, you get the Pyke counter pick in the mid lane, Jarvan as your jungler, and you do have, in my opinion, a counter bot lane.
And on top of that, the Rise, who is just by himself a very strong lane and a very strong split pusher. It's a pretty great composition, and Galaxy, they're going to have to deal with that early tempo of US Army Esports and be able to quell it well as it hit the minute and 52-second mark.
Yeah, I mean, the Rise, sure, he's not that good in lane, but I mean, overall, he doesn't even need to succeed.
Yeah, and watching these jungle routes, Valencia will go for a bit of the power farming route as he goes the Krugs, and then straight into possibly a bot lane gank. It does look like he's rotating around this area. Sharks are in the water, and they smell blood going after Fluid. Fluid's been here before. He knows the story all too well. Flag and Trey goes out, gets the double knockup. Target is Fluid, but he will barely be able to make it out. Here comes the damage on the Skeggy. Skeggy wants to turn it around with the death sentence, but instead is happy that he got out alive.
And I would call that a successful game coming in for the side of Valencia. Gets the summoners as well as the chunk out. That's just going to force the side of Galaxy's bot lane back to base, and that's going to mean they're going to lose out on a huge EXP lead. You can see Valencia as well invading here, but here's a skirmish.
Here comes the attack. Valencia trying to get more damage onto Garo. The hook goes out, but it's me, that's OP, looking a little bit underpowered as he just completely blunders that one.
Yeah, and that's going to mean that even though it wasn't the blue buff picked up for the side of Valencia, he's still controlling this side of the map. Finally, Galaxy's bot laner, they are going to arrive. Already 10 CS down. And Garo, well, he's trying to scrap up something for himself. Might just go for the invade and find it, depending on how ahead he is on tempo compared to Valencia. But overall, I still give it in favor of this early game for the side of US Army.
A poor Chop fighting it out with Foshamore in the top lane. I feel like if you are US Army Esports, actually, if you are Galaxy, one of the lanes you do want to focus on is this top side, because Porkchop, he is shoving this all the way to the tower and is low on mana and is not that mobile. Once he procs the face rush, that's all his mobility gone, and I think that is exactly what Garo is going to smell as here comes the gank. Fushamort able to find stun, looking for the double stun to go through. Garo able to claim it with the Arctic Assault, and first blood going to the pocket of Fushamort.
And that's so tough to deal with. Melee with Sejuani means the easy Arctic stun, and oh, some nice damage from D-Roll, and it's going to mean it's me, that's OP. It takes a healthy chunk, but once again, Pyke has pretty good sustain, I would say.
Yeah. It's a little bit obnoxious sometimes having to lane against a Pyke and knowing you get all that damage in just for him to go invisible, and you know, there's half of that damage right back.
That's it, dude. You're just Pepe hands like, oh, my hard work. But, I mean, hey, you mentioned it. The gang coming in for the side of Galaxy in that top lane. That's exactly what you want to see. After Fushmort's, I would say, valiant effort in game one, but overall, his team was just not finding the proper team fights, and he was not allowed to carry that game. Maybe this game already up in first blood, and might just be pushing this entire early game the rise into tower.
And I just love the choice of Garo going for that gank on the top side, because it is a bit of a knowledge play as well. Knowing that Porkchop wants to go for the early push and early recall to get the early teleport for his early tier, you're pretty much exploiting the fact that he will be shoving all the way to the tower. He does have his tier now, so it shouldn't be as aggressive, especially with his splashdown, but it's still a window of opportunity to try and find a gank topside, possibly a tower dive.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting Fushmore onto Elite, I think that just means that the side of Pork Chop is just not going to exist like in this early game. Like I don't think he's going to be allowed to leave his lane too much. Always going to be behind in the push, you would think. And in this case, looks like Fushmore just trying to pull off a bit of a freeze. Might just be setting up for the next gank, as we do know Pork Chop, no flash available, but it's going to warrant a pause for us here.
Okay, so apparently there's a problem with the jungler. Garo has something to do at the very moment. Not sure what the problem is, but we'll get it resolved ASAP. Taking a look at the state of the game, though. Already a good early start for Galaxy, but there's still a lot more they need to do if they want to secure this victory, because we aren't at the point where US Army Esports will start finding those spikes, but it's around the corner. It's coming up. It comes very early. Usually it only takes one item per champion for the composition drafted by US Army Esports to turn online.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have potential chain CCs up the wazoo for the side of US Army. I mean, you land a pike hook, that's gonna mean the flag and drag or the concussive blows, as well as that point and click rise stun. That's really what I think is going to make it hard for the backline of Galaxy to play this game. Having a point and click snare when you have so much follow up as well, like flag and drag, absolutely phenomenal follow up, because it's basically a flash attached to a knock up, and knock up obviously uncleansable. So if you don't cleanse that first snare, you're going to get a knock up that is not cleansable. And I mean, Kalista as well as Lux, quite squishy as well. So it's going to take a lot of work from the front line to really buffer and zone out the side of US Army Esports, so they're not allowed to find these point and click CCs.
We're just in, as you see in the Twitch chat, it is a bit of a family emergency, which, you know, that always comes first. There's no pressure onto him.
Yeah.
I hope that gets resolved. It's definitely a shame when it comes up in moments like this.
It's tough. I mean,
so on that note, we are going to take a moment to throw it over to a break while this whole thing gets resolved. So be sure to stay tuned. Game number 2 is still underway. We will be right back. Galaxy Gaming versus US Army Esports. We are back. Did you miss us? Action is underway. The problem is resolved. Family issues, they're gone. The future is League of Legends. We have a battle to do.
That's right. They just resolved it in a matter of 10 minutes. Now they're the perfect family. But I mean, some pressure exerted from both junglers here on this bottom side of the river as we do get back into this game. And still a 1-0 lead for the side of Fushmore on Galaxy. And we still have a lot more of this game to cover so far. I mean, Renekton ahead in gold, and that's probably going to be giving him a lot of good tempo, and that's exactly what you want as Renekton. You're going to be pressuring down that tower, so it's really the response that I'm looking to see coming out from US Army Esports. What really are they going to be playing for now? You saw them exert some pressure in the bot lane, but are they going to stick to it?
I'm not sure. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed with the way Valencia has been playing because he's doing just kind of a power farming thing. He hasn't really gone for ganks despite J4 being one of the early game gank masters. And this is not giving his team the tempo they need to be successful in the early.
Yeah, I mean, before the scuttle changes, like, this guy was a monster because level 2, he would have that flag and drag available and just absolutely demolish anyone that wants to stand in his way. And you're right. Very good early jungler, and looks like he's going to be putting bit of that strength to use, going for the Cloud Drake here. He is rather unhealthy though. He's not a healthy man, I will say, but looks like he's going to be taking that dragon a-okay with the smite.
We'll smite it away. Free dragon. I'm kind of curious what procced him to go after that dragon too.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he got vision on Tagaro or not, because that's with the Scuttle Crab taken for the side of Galaxy.
Maybe that's when they least expected Tesseract, you know, lure them into that false sense of security. He actually gave them the scuttle. I don't know if you saw that insane mental play by him. Just gave him the scuttle. So free dragon for him. Just calculated.
Absolutely. Bust out the TI-84. We're all math majors then.
Oh, that's not what you like to see.
Disconnect going through, unfortunately, for Garo. Still the issues continue. Hopefully we'll get them resolved quite quickly. Taking a look at the state of the game once more. Valencia, we need to see more ganks, man. We need to see them come through. Like, even though he's trying to farm, he's behind in farm in comparison to Garo, and Garo's gotten off a gank where Valencia just kind of shows up, takes the camp, oh, I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah, just impulsively think I'll take this dragon. So there's that too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I mean, Cloud Drake, not necessarily the best dragon in the game, debatably. I don't want to trigger anyone. But at the same time, like, you probably would have preferred something else. He is a bit behind in CS as well, so a lot to be warranted from him. And I mean, Sejuani, she does have a relatively good early game, but by no means does she trash the J4. And I'd love to see where exactly he decides to put his pressure towards. I mean, mid lane, for one thing. If you actually land a hook with Pyke onto D-roll on the Lux, I think you have a very easy gank, if not a summoner blow for yourself.
And that's what I was kind of expecting.
Yeah.
I was expecting Valencia and It's Me That OP to just destroy D-roll, consistently gank that lane over and over and over, burn his flash. After that, he has no real way to get away because the hook and the flag and drag are non-ultimate spells that have a short cooldown.
Yeah, it's just something that you can go to again and again and again. And that was one of the blunders that we thought of when we saw the Lux early. You saw the counter pick of the Pyke, and it just makes so much sense, right? Wash off all of that poke, and when you really want to all in, that's what Pyke's for. Has the ultimate available as well, so they do attempt something there. It could look quite promising, but that disconnect it'd just be about resolved right now, so we might just be heading back in quite shortly.
Now let's start the fight already. Garo,
Yeah, just
we need
everyone,
you.
just everyone ARAM it. Just meet at the mid, no balls.
We're still in the early game, so we still got 6 minutes to those plates start falling. But not a single plate taken so far. Only early game pressure on the top side. Otherwise, it's been your standard game of League of Legends. No real advantages going either way. Only a 1k gold lead. Not really much. Usually just focused in one lane, and that would be the top lane, with Foshamart having that 500 gold lead against his opponent.
Wonder what that name means. Fushmore.
I don't know, maybe one of our, I believe, French-Canadian fans.
Aha. Someone enlighten us. We're just dirty Americans. We need European enlightenment.
Oh no. Going towards the bot side, looking to get a little bit of farm in. Fluid still been doing all right, all things considered. He was sent back very early on, but is still keeping up in CS. In fact, has a 4-point CS lead.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he has not only caught back up in CS, but has actually surpassed Talented on the Ezreal. And that's actually really weird. Not to say that, like, you know, Kalista shouldn't be able to. Like, she does have a sick laning phase, but just think when she comes to that mid game, it might be a bit more difficult. Garo gonna put down the Twitch to prison.
Final spark, but not going to finish the job. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Talented able to get a lot of damage going back. Fluid almost falls, but barely able to survive. A slither of health, about 60 HP left in the pool. But now coming down towards the bot line is Duris, but there's only so much one little support can do against the 3 members of Galaxy.
And oh my god, another hook.
Oh, we've seen this one before. Now comes the dive. Duris having to flash away from the Arctic Assault. Damage going in the mid lane, and Galaxy are just continuing with the pressure. Able to burn both flashes and get a kill.
Yeah, Galaxy, such smart play coming out of them right when they see Duris go rotate over to that skirmish around the Wraith camp. They go ahead, go for the 2v1 and take out Talented. I think this actually changes a lot of the context of this lane for the most part, because if you actually let Kalista get ahead, she is going to snowball out of control. Nice hook.
And that's what we've been waiting for. The death from below comes out, and it was that easy. It was that easy, my friend.
Really, like, Pike just blew the flash on his own, and after that, that's going to make an easy flag and drag for you to land. And of course, the kill going over to Pike, but the shared gold as well for Valencia in that jungle. Hook not going to land, and there's Garo just trying to get those minions away from tower, but in the end, it's going to crash and going to deny a lot of gold for D-roll in that mid lane.
A little jungler exchange, friendly battle of fisticuffs going on in the mid lane between our junglers. But now that that flash is burnt from D-roll, this is such a window of opportunity for Valencia to just go into that top lane we're watching top lane, go into that mid lane time and time again and set up the same thing. Cataclysm is now available for that gank, so more tools to take down D-roll.
And when I saw the Pike pick, I just thought that that matched US Esports game perfectly. When I saw their game one, it's just dominating lane phase. You snowball that into a fantastic mid game for them. And they seem to dictate the pace so well. So why wouldn't Pike be the pick to go to here in this game too? And it seems to be working out for them.
But in the top lane, story we've seen before, out comes the engage, looking to find a stun onto Porkchop, but Pushmore is taking a lot of damage in the process. Starting to fall low is Porkchop. He gets under the tower, but it doesn't matter. One more cleave. Pushmore gets the kill in the bot lane. Cataclysm looking to go through Glacial Fissure as well as the Cataclysm, but jumping out, waiting for the concussive blows to proc, and it will. A kill to Valencia, but at the cost of his own life, going back straight to Skeggy.
Yeah, that's a sick play coming out from Skeggy. Gonna being the 1-for-1 trade. Here comes It's Me That's OP on the Pike.
A little bit of a trade coming in, but the pincer movement will come out of D-roll in Fushimore to make sure that Garo stays okay. It's Me That's OP will start the retreat, but comes back in. He wants to fight it out with Garo. He does have the death from below available. Once Garo falls below that threshold, that's the end of his life, and that is why he Arctic Assaults over the wall.
Yeah, that is spooky stuff, and that means going to be the pressure again for It's Me That's OP in the mid lane. Going to force the jungler Garo on the Sejuani back end. I mean, overall, hey, let's take stock of this game, right? Because you have a dominating top as well as a good 2v2 that you came up with in that bot side as well. So Galaxy, I mean, they come out swinging in this lane. The only real thing that you have to worry about is still this mid lane. Huge amount of pressure.
But the bigger point here is just US Army Esports aren't getting that early tempo. They're falling behind quite a bit. Porkchop will collect a plate here, and that is going to relieve some of that bleeding, but it's still a 1k deficit he has against Fushimore.
It's just so tough when you give up first blood and you're still being camped at this point. You saw Garo come up with another nice gank in the top lane.
Yeah, I don't think Valencia is pulling off that one twice. Skeggy looking to join the fight, and so is It's Me That's OP. Fluid on the sidelines, looking to rain as many spears as he can. Valencia shows up. It's Me That's OP gets one kill. Concussive flows, proc, death from below again. Fushimore joining the fight, looking to go after It's Me That's OP or Valencia, trying to see who gets closer. Flag and Drag will not find the knock, but instead Valencia will find death. D-roll gets the kill. Here comes another hook. He will land it, but he will die for it as well. Talented fed to the croc. Fushimore eats him alive. life.
Oh, what a play coming out. That's gonna mean the 4-for-2 exchange coming out for the side of Galaxy. And again, just when you're trying to skirmish, it was really the strength coming out of Galaxy. They do the quicker collapse, as well as to bring their top laner over with the advantage as well. He was 2-0, now 4-0 on the Gator, as well as the Ocean Drake going in favor of them, all in an exchange for a couple of top plates in the top lane. I think you'll take that trade if you are Galaxy.
That fight started off so wrong for the side of US Army Esports. Half the health bar was already taken from Valencia, from Garo just harassing Valencia alone, but gotta hold that thought. A little bit more fighting going on in the top lane as Pork Chop gonna proc that phase rush, get some harassment in and back off.
Yeah, but I mean, overall still you have a great lead. And like you said, against the early composition of US Army Esports. I mean, the Pyke, he's not a monster scaler in this game, but if you let a Kalista control the game, I think it can really come out strong here. The 2v2 meeting up, but here comes Pyke.
Hook goes out, but Garo will sidestep it with the Arctic Assault. So Rome not going to be that successful just yet, but you can tell that US Army Esports are trying to stop that top lane bleeding.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want. You are US Army. Make sure that your top laner can scale into the game, shut down the carry threat for the side of Galaxy, and perhaps maybe you can find a much better team fight that they've been fighting so far.
Portal combat going off over Vision. Skeggy just trying to get some wards up, but Duris is having none of it, collecting 30 gold per ward each time he takes one away. The mid lane, though, Light Binding will land. It's Me That's OP, takes a lot of damage, should be able to heal up quite a bit. Doesn't want to fall into that threshold where the final spark could take him off. Gets under the tower, calls over Valencia as well, but that's going to proc Garo to show up towards his bot lane as well. So Death Sentence lands on the Duris, but he's under tower.
Yeah, that final spark for D-roll in the mid lane, just 10 seconds away from being up, so not quite. Here comes It's Me That's OP.
Ooh, Valencia trying to put out the fancy feet, but will get stunned. Here comes the laser, and here comes the pain. D-roll still alive, will find the double kill. Let the light guide you.
What a play coming out from D-roll, able to land the laser, and that's going to be one quick execute. They scoop up the other kill, and a lot going in favor for you if you are Galaxy. Now you finally got all of your lanes snowballing in favor, and all that's left is to really start to control the mid game, start to take all of these free objectives that are going to be spawning, and you have yourself a recipe for success that US Army Esports found last game.
Moving forward, US Army Esports wanting to get concussive blows onto Skeggy, but here comes the fight. Glacial Fisher finds a double knockup, going to use the ultimate out of Fluid, gets procced by the concussive blows, a lot of damage coming out of Fluid, will find the kill against Tainted, goes after Duris as well. Flayed back, he's left all by his lonesome, so many spears just rend them out, he doesn't even need it. A double kill to Fluid, but here comes It's Me That's OP, looking for the death from below, finds it, want to make it two, here comes the double!
That's going to mean a double kill for It's Me That's OP. The Rift Herald going down the mid lane. That's going to be the response coming out from Galaxy, as well as Bushmore trying to put down some good damage in the top lane. But I mean, 2-for-2 trade. You take down the mid tower for Galaxy, and they're still looking for a little bit more. The only thing you have to worry about now is It's Me That's OP 5-2, and he's trying to do his best, putting his carry pants on, and we'll have to see how he can really influence as we start to go towards that mid game.
It's Me That's OP being ahead on this Pyke means you don't have to score kills for US Army Esports. You just have to get them low enough for It's Me That's OP to finish the job. He hasn't even really used his Ignite this game. I'm kind of surprised why he took it when he has Death from Below as such a great tool to secure kills.
Maybe it's a guarantee that he hasn't needed to use. Yeah, you know, it's like when you know you're wearing those training weights, and then you take them off, and then you're finally like, yeah, this is my final form, by the way. Valencia to be spotted out here by one Skeggy boy.
Kind of disappointing. Skeggy could have just waited for the flag and drag to go off instead of playing right away, and kept him on that side of the wall, forcing him to burn his flash. That would have been the high IQ play, but Skeggy a little bit too impatient, my friend.
Yeah, we all don't have brains as big as yours. That's some of us, we had to deal with our smaller ones. But
a lot of pressure. On the bot side, Galaxy are bringing the boys They're back in town. They're going for the bot lane. Ultimate goes out. Final spark. Duris didn't even stand a chance against the raw damage coming out of Galaxy. Here comes the siege on the bot side.
And they might just transition that into a dragon. Next
Ooh,
one,
a brilliant play, but not brilliant enough. Here come the kills. It's me, that's OP. Clean up crew. Triple kill in a heartbeat.
This guy, it's me, that's OP, is just completely changing the context of this game at this point. They're going to be shoving down this bot lane as well as responding to push in the mid lane. But I mean, what more can be said about this guy? It's me, that's OP on the bike. It's just a monster that cannot be dealt with at this point. Whenever the side of Galaxy feel like they have the momentum going in their favor, he just shows up and decides, yeah, no, I think I'll be getting a triple here. Might just be the Infernal Drake as well, since you have such a mana advantage. And that, I mean, we saw the momentum going in favor of Galaxy, but now it's anyone's game.
More have to back off. Valencia will secure the Infernal Drake. Second Drake for US Army Esports. Having the Infernal is always welcome, given the raw damage that they have. That sentence only lands onto Duris, so the rest of the squad of Galaxy would rather back off. But now that Garo is here, now that Skaggy's here, that sentence, it will land. Pork Chop actually gets deleted that quickly. Duris will be next. And just like that, Galaxy are able to find some control.
There you go, the confident play coming out of Galaxy. They utilize the Kalista ultimate, and that's going to net them 2 kills and perhaps even more pressure. And I think if you're the side of US Army Esports, you just need to be finding the right fights. But at this point, they have their backs against the wall. They're looking to be losing their inhibitor tower at this point. Oh, wow.
And there goes my hero. Watch him as he goes. It's me, that's OP. Getting shut down will mean the engage to come out of US Army Esports as they find a Cataclysm on the Skaggy. Talented will find that kill. Fluid and the rest of the Goon squad will back off for strong. Got to be careful though, because Valencia is starting to posture up forward. Does not have the Cataclysm. Doesn't need it. We'll take him down with the flag and drag snare. Goes on to D-roll. D-roll. One more auto away. Double kill. Valencia 2 alive. For Galaxy. US Army Esports are thinking Baron.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 down. You go ahead and you make the dragon play here, I think. As long as you can make sure you keep tabs on Garo, might just be able to find it. But instead, they're taking their time, thinking about what direction they want to go. And now, it's going to be the Baron start to Garo. Here with the approach. Has the red buff, so he's going to be regenerating a lot of HP. And the rest of his team coming in slowly, but already half damage given over to Baron.
Garo will not be near it. He will back off. He does not have vision. He has no way to establish vision control, but they might look to get the counter engage after Baron. Low health bars for US Army Esports, but Galaxy just don't have any vision to realize that.
And that's the whole problem with overreaching. When you have these chaotic games where you're not going for the safe place, you're trying to push the envelope. You saw the side of Galaxy trying to push that mid inhibitor tower. That meant they lose 3 members rather, and they just lose the Baron off of that when they were in the driver's seat. That's actually such a big loss for you, and it's going to be tough to come back from when we saw so much control coming out of US Army Esports. I mean, you still have to worry about the Pike, but now you're giving gold over to the Ezreal, who's going to be reaching his power spike now. Already 3 items in. Finish the Luden's Echo, as well as that Rise starting to scale up as well. It's going to be very tough to still keep control of these team fights.
And this is where US Army Esports, we need to start seeing the transfer of gold go from just getting fun. Actually, got hold. I thought Death Sentence will land, and they're looking to just eliminate Skaggy as well as D-roll. Garo running away from this entire experience. Valencia will be able to finish the job. The rest of Galaxy trapped in the Cataclysm. It's me, that's OP. X marks the spot, collecting treasure on this here Rift.
Yeah, Talented living up to his name, as well as the rest of US Army Esports. You give them a finger, they take the whole arm. They're going for the mid turret as well. And man, this game is just as back and forth as it gets. I cannot tell who's really in control of this game, but I think if you are Galaxy, you take a step back, you say, hey, we scale better. We just need to take our foot off of the pedal, take it slow. Maybe you have to give up this inhibitor, but as long as you regain control of the game through solid team fighting.
Oh, they need some kind of pick, but they're the ones getting picked. Foshamort starting to run critically low, but will still dive in to try and get some of that regen. Takes down Duris at the cost of his own life. Porkchop is going down next. Will get devoured. Nom Nom going the way of Garo. And the rest of the squad of Galaxy will find 2 kills, but it'll cost them Foshamort. And with no neutral objectives on the board, it's all about survival for Galaxy.
Yeah, really nothing that Galaxy can take at the moment. Just that dragon on the close horizon. Skeggy, that's just, man. Pyke is I gotta be honest though, it's not really Pyke. It's more it's me that's OP that's actually OP and just popping the heck off in this game. Just finding the openings, finding the resets on his ultimate and just picking his team back up. Now just about a 4,000 gold lead. Doesn't really look like it from the kill score, but you factor in those extra towers as well as that Pyke gold given over from the death from below, and that's going to be 4,000. Yeah, Klepto too. That's true.
Yeah, Klepto means a gold lead of 600 against his counterpart, despite the CS going in favor of Fluid, despite the kills going in favor of Fluid. Just all those neutral objectives, all of that global gold adds up.
Yeah, now you can see Galaxy trying to work towards getting some vision control. This is second Infernal, 4th Dragon at the game. Yeah, no, there's no 4 Dragons. Okay, here's the approach coming in from US Army Esports.
Yeah, a lot of poke coming in from US Army Esports, able to get the light binding onto Valencia. Valencia going to go for the backline, drops the Cataclysm onto Skeggy. Skeggy starting to get critically low. Glacial Fisher will go out as well. So many low health bars for Galaxy, and Porkchop uncontested, talented, uncontested. Now Fluid will have to face the wrath of the carries of US Army Esports as they're destroyed. Skeggy, the last survivor, the last one to fall, running it down the mid lane. US Army Esports are feeling hot.
Oh my god, what a team fight coming out from US Army after getting picked with their Jarvan, but he takes that as the go signal. He goes in, has a big impact onto the backline. That's going to set up the rest of your carries to succeed. It's me that's OP, popped off that game. And the shutdown going onto Fluid meant no hope for the side of Galaxy. They take the L as US Army Esports. They go 2-0 in the series, and they take first place in the bracket as well.
Job 3-0 overall in the season in week number 3, not tasting defeat a single time. And it looked like Galaxy had the right idea. Last time Porkchop carried, let's try and stop him. Let's try and work against their composition. Ban away the Aatrox, what happens? It's me, that's OP happens. He shows up on the Pyke, 11-3-3, my friend. That is insane performance coming out of the mid lane.
Yeah, let's talk about him for a second. It's me, that's OP. He's on the Lux game 1, had a very standout performance with his duo Duris on that AD carry, and now having another pop-off performance on the Pyke, just completely changing the context of the game as well. When you saw Galaxy get an early lead, they were on a better skill and composition as well, and in the end, it's just me, that's OP. Gave his team the opportunity. They all banded together. They played this chaotic game style with a lot of gold shifting back and forth. But in the end, if you give this composition, if you give US Army Esports an opening, they go for it and they take the W.
Yeah, I do want to take a look at these damage charts though, because I didn't believe It's Me That's OP would actually have done that much damage. He did a significant amount, but nothing in really comparison to the ADC. But that's the whole point of Pyke. He's not going to do that much damage. He sets up for kills and secures them. That is the way his playstyle plays, and that's the way they played it. Cataclysm towards the backline, AoE damage. Porkchop on the rise, AoE damage. True Shot Barrage, AoE damage. Glacial Fisher, AoE damage. That is all geared towards setting up that death below.
I actually think this was a more dominant game coming out from US Army. I know it sounds weird because, I mean, their game 1 was just about as dominant as they could seem. Like, you know, they took an early lead and they took the game relatively quickly. But this game, I actually think we saw everyone really pop off. Like, from the side of Porkchop, sure, didn't have a good time in the laning phase, but when it really mattered, he was there for the team fights. He was punctual with those snares. He allowed the pick potential coming out for the rest of the team. It's AOP. You've already said as much as you can about this guy. Like, he had a fantastic game. But I mean, Valencia is at the right place at the right time, right? Just making sure that he was taking those neutral objectives. Sure, he didn't necessarily pop off in the early game, but when it came to those team fights, like, everyone. Talented, phenomenal game. I think he's like the second MVP this game for the side of US Army Esports. Like the damage charts are not even close. And Durst, I mean, facilitated the rest of his team. They all band together and they really showed up big here in this game too when we thought the odds were against them.
Yeah, you try and cut off one head and the other rises and dominates.
Hail
US
Hydra.
Army Esports, they will not be stopped. And they're the only ones who remain undefeated in their group 3-0. Congratulations to them. We do have to start closing this out, but unfortunately for me, I did mix a lot of my ad moments, so we got to start shouting out our sponsors a little bit. Let's go through the
let's get
list
it.
for just a moment. First and foremost, we want to thank Kono. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, it all starts at peripherals, from keyboards to keycaps, mice, and more. Our friends at Kono have got you covered. Kono works with the world's best designers, inventors, and makers to bring you some of the best gaming peripherals around. Kono have been huge supporters of us here at Upsurge and have made a generous contribution to our prize pool. If you need to find a new keyboard or mouse for your setup, we cannot recommend anyone better than Kono. For more information, head over to kono.store to check out all they have to offer. That's KONO.store. Kono, discover amazing products.
And I'll take the second one. Actually, Scuttle Scrims is going to be our second sponsor of the day. Looking for a way to find fast, reliable scrims for your team to practice against? Well, Scuttle Scrims might just be your new best friend. Scuttle Scrims, it's a reliable and easy application that allows you to quickly search for active teams of all ranks and skill levels that are looking for reliable practice partners. Simply log in, search your specified ranked, and request a scrim. For more information, visit their website, scuttlescrims.com.
And of course, our last sponsor, Midwest Esports, has been around for many years, starting as a small student group out of Wichita State University. Since then, Midwest Esports has grown to be a veteran organizer towards tournaments and events throughout the U.S. They host tournaments for games like League of Legends, Rocket League, as well as Overwatch. For more information, check them out at midwestesports.com. And that will do it here for the cast. My name is Des Rux. This is my co-caster, Switch. Of course, shout out to our streamer, Go Forino, and we will see you next time at Upsurge Esports.